Justin Herbert and the Chargers running game were awesome. The Chargers defense does what it's done all season long. And don't look now, but Jim Harbaugh's Chargers have now won 3 in a row.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, and welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer, and we've been covering the Chargers now for 9 seasons together, but this is our 7th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. Thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen, especially for this late night edition post-game victory show that we have for you guys today. But to make sure that you never miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. David, the Chargers have won 3 in a row.
Tic-tac-toe, 3 in a row, baby. The Chargers are on a winning streak. Let's go streaking. I absolutely love it. After a little bit of a slip-up by the defense early, they round into form, and they remind everybody how dominant they were. Justin Herbert, another very efficient game, and the running game was back to prominence. Gus Edwards, looking like the man the Chargers signed in free agency.
Absolutely. I think really there are positives in all 3 facets of the Chargers game today. Offense, defense, special teams. I thought they pretty much dominated the Titans for most of this game in all 3 facets. But it starts with Justin Herbert, who just continues to play at a ridiculous level. And I mean, I think when you look at the stats, it's going to seem modest, right? 14 of 18, 164 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. But passer rating of 123.1. A QBR 84.9, which is out of 100. That's pretty hard to get. 7 carries for 34 yards in this one if you take out the 2 kneel downs at the end. Just a hugely solid performance, and I wanted to bring up the running game specifically because I did think that was a pivotal turning point in this game. The Chargers looked like they were going to let the Titans hang in this one, and we've seen so many teams in Chargers past do that. Play against bad teams when you're obviously better. You let them hang around, and then something crazy can happen in the end, and where you say the Chargers end up charging, right? For the 3rd week in a row, we didn't see that. The 3rd week in a row, we had a 4th quarter on a Sunday where we're not sitting at the edge of your couch, right, with your blood pressure going to unreasonable levels. Right. This is a shift, right? 4th straight game for Justin Herbert, averaging over 8.7 yards per attempt, but it was that scramble, 4th and 1. The Chargers, 2 field goals and 2 red zone trips. It was 7-6. They needed to get something going. Credit to Jim Harbaugh, who never goes for it on 4th down, for choosing to there. They had to break through, and it was Justin Herbert on a quarterback power, right? A design quarterback run. Just we know Justin Herbert's going to take it in the end zone. He makes 2 Titans miss. It makes it 13-7, but the game was never the same after that. After they broke through right there, that was the game, and it was led by Justin Herbert, who, again, was ridiculous.
He was. I mean, the 14 of 18, too, like, if you look at it, Will Dissly, ball hit his hands, that was a drop. Hayden Hurst, the ball hit his hands, that was a drop. Joshua Palmer, the ball, he had it in his hands. It would have been a
great catch.
It just got knocked away. Again, so, I mean, realistically, we could be sitting here, talking about 16 of 18.
17 of 18, 4 touchdowns.
Easily.
I mean, because both of those drops were touchdowns, right? 2 of those 3 times where it hit somebody's hands, 2 of those would have been 4 short touchdowns. We're talking about 4 total touchdowns for Justin Herbert on Sunday. It looks a lot different.
It does. It does completely look a lot different. But even then, Justin Herbert, another elite game. And according to Pro Football Focus, this is going to be his 3rd 85-plus grade in a row for the young superstar quarterback. So, man, he was fantastic in his limited touches. But he did a great job, Daniel, of exploiting
finding Kenneth Murray.
What did I say, everybody?
Yeah.
Find Kenneth Murray in coverage, and good things are going to happen. Well, Justin Herbert abused Kenneth Murray. First on a run up the middle where he absolutely snatched Kenneth Murray's soul, made him fall over in very embarrassing fashion. Also found him covering J.K. Dobbins, which caused a pass interference penalty, which it looked like Justin Herbert knew exactly what he was doing there because he was pointing, laughing, and clapping after that. And then, of course, Kenneth Murray in coverage is the biggest liability of all. And Justin Herbert was able to find him trying to do his best impersonation of someone who is covering a wide receiver, and that is never a good idea. That was an easy touchdown from Quentin Johnston. So find Kenneth Murray, good things happen. Great things happen today for the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't think Herbert needed much of a scouting report for that one. I mean, I don't know how many times we were the ones chagrined by Kenneth Murray trying to cover a wide receiver. Ends up being a touchdown. But
Yeah.
I did think that it was Herbert on the ground. I mean, it doesn't seem like crazy numbers, but several key first down pickups. He has the fourth down touchdown, which was awesome. But I thought the running game as a whole looked a lot better.
Yeah.
Again, you take out the 2 kneel downs, it's 37 carries, 147 yards. 4.0 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Looks worse because with the kneel downs, it comes out to like 3.7 yards per carry, but just a much better performance from this running game. It doesn't have to be 7 yards a carry. It just has to be usable. And I thought there wasn't as many negative, plays in this one in the running game. And I thought the Chargers looked a lot better, especially Gus Edwards, David. I mean, Gus Edwards, I thought brought a totally different element to this running game, something we hoped to see early in the season and never really saw. Now it's much easier for me to believe that dude's fully healthy because he looked like a different player.
There he is. There's the guy that the Chargers signed in free agency. That's the guy that they were expecting to have, but he was never right. And I think this game here proved that in spades. He was fantastic in this game. We're talking about 10 carries for 55 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, and like really hitting the hole and like using some explosion and speed, like which we had not seen earlier in the season. This was a much better version, a much healthier version of Gus Edwards, and that is nothing but good news for the Chargers. And this 1-2 punch that they thought they were going to have going into the season seems like they are here now.
Yeah, I mean, he hadn't played since week 4 against the Chiefs. So to see him come back and to look as good as he did, I thought is hugely encouraging, not just for this game, even though he played a big part in, helping them kickstart things, but also just for the rest of the season, because that's how this team wants to play. And when it was just J.K. Dobbins, he still had some games, right? He would have the occasional game looking really good, but the total performance from the entire backfield just wasn't there, and the Chargers weren't getting enough out of the running game. So to see him do that, to see another game, where Justin Herbert can throw for 164 yards and they can still win by double digits, that's a good thing for this team going forward. I mean, they definitely, after they went up 17, kind of packed it in for sure and just decided to run, just to run the clock.
But I did think,
yeah, I mean, the biggest part of this game, though, and the most impressive part of the running game for me was the 95-yard touchdown drive. I mean, shout out to Lad McConkey, who got things started with a big game to really flip the field position where, the Chargers were going to have a decent chance to go score. He, with only 2 catches, still led the team in receiving yards. But it was 11 plays, 95 yards, and a touchdown. They ran 7 minutes and 10 seconds off the clock. And 10 of the plays, David, on the drive, since the Kenneth Murray pass interference doesn't count as a play, 10 of the plays on that drive, including a couple Justin Herbert scrambles, were running plays. So to see that, you start the fourth quarter, you're up by 10, anything can happen. You can go 3 and out and punt right there. They could cut it to a 3-point lead, right? In 2 minutes. That could change quickly. Instead, they're on their 5-yard line. They go 11 plays, 95 yards, 7-10 off the clock to start that fourth quarter. That's huge. That's pivotal. Being able to run the ball when they know you're going to run it and having it look like that was awesome.
Hey, we've done our fair share of ripping Greg Roman to shreds. I think he absolutely deserves some credit for creating this drive here. It was one of his most effective, one of the prototypical drives that you want to see. One of those put-away drives where you want to step on your opponent's throat and just exhaust all life out of their lungs and not give them any chance to come back. And that's exactly what this drive did. It was a backbreaker. That's what they wanted it to be. That's what they designed it to be, and they executed it flawlessly.
Absolutely. And the bigger thing for me is that made it a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. There was only 8 minutes left by the time they got done with that drive. Like that was it. That was the game right there. It was over. To take a 17-point lead like that in the fourth quarter with this team, with this defense that you're not afraid it's going to blow it, it's awesome. And I think that, now we're kind of starting to see what the vision is. Like if this running game can really look like this consistently and do enough and be effective and actually give Justin Herbert a running game while he's now playing out of his mind.
Oh, yeah.
Now we're looking at an offense that could do some things. But I thought that was just great. I mean, last week you had a very similar drive, right? It was 4 plays, 4 runs. You score a touchdown in the second half, and you win the game and put it on ice. This week it's 11 plays, 95 yards, and a touchdown, 10 of those being runs. That is just a thing of beauty, right? And Justin Herbert also, what he did on the ground, picking up a couple of first downs was great. But There is more offensively, and I thought the biggest moment in this game was the Chargers finally breaking through in the red zone. If you want to put games away, if you want to have complete offensive performances, you have to show up in the red zone, and the Chargers went 3 for 3 on their last 3 trips. So we're going to talk about that and much more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First thing I tell you guys, though, our friends at 5 Hour Energy know that being passionate about football isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life, and it takes a lot of energy to power through all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like you, the fans who are first in the parking lot and the last to leave. We see you. You know what else gave me a bit of it? Chargers Fan Fuel this week was the moment when Justin Herbert, late in the game on a ceiling drive, ran the ball, was totally feeling himself, second straight scramble for a first down, and gave, from the ground, the first down signal. Every time I'm always going to think of Phillip Rivers doing that in the game against the Ravens and looking both ways. But to see Justin Herbert having that much fun on the ground, signaling that first down, and also just the kind of culmination of how much his personality has shown up this year was really awesome. And that's how I feel every time I drink a 5 Hour Energy, because they know no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. So whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why you can have the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot, which is here to help you keep fuel throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with a 5 Hour Energy, available on 5hourenergy.com, shipped nationwide. I also need to tell you guys about PrizePicks, the number one daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do, pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including Texas, California, and also Georgia. Yes, you did miss out on the Chargers game, but you can still get in on tonight's action. Maybe you go with Matthew Stafford throwing for more than or less than 257.5 passing yards against the Dolphins, and combine that with Puka Nacua having more or less than 70.5 receiving yards. It's that easy. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. David, we talked about Justin Herbert and how well he's playing, and also the Chargers running game, and all of that kind of folds into what I want to talk about here, which is just the Chargers breaking through in the red zone, because this has been an entire season of kind of ups and downs for the Chargers, and it's like once they start struggling, with something new, they get better at another thing, and vice versa. But they're starting to put together some complete performance, which we'll talk about, but I do want to talk about first just breaking through in the red zone, because that was the moment in this game. The way you let bad teams like the Titans hang with you is by not scoring touchdowns in the red zone. And that was how it was going. And it was so freaking frustrating because Hayden Hurst, man, what are we doing? It's just like you finally have a chance to kind of make an impact.
That's an easy one.
You drop what's, for almost any player, a walk-in touchdown. Who knows what would happen after he caught it, but he had a lane for an easy touchdown. Oh, yeah. And then Will Dissly with the craziest Justin Herbert throw that's not going to count of the week.
That was
Justin Herbert.
That was just bad.
Falling away, lobbing it up, perfect touch, layered ball into the end zone and just bounces off his hands. He had another one a couple weeks ago on a little seam route up the middle, bounced off his hands. Justin Herbert also had the ball to J.K. Dobbins. I think it was against the Chiefs up the sideline, rolling out to the left. Should have been a huge play.
Yeah,
Josh Palmer
disgusting. Yeah,
avoiding a sack in the end zone that would have been a safety from a 300-pound defensive tackle. He escapes, throws that ball on the money to Josh Palmer, who drops it on the sideline. Every week, we get one ridiculous Justin Herbert throw that doesn't count and should make a highlight reel just out of that. But the Chargers in this game, David, it was 7-6. They had outplayed the Titans thoroughly. Titans had one lucky broken coverage touchdown. Yeah. But it was 7-6 after the Chargers had 2 trips to the red zone. But then they broke through. It was Justin Herbert, the 4th and 1 quarterback design run. He gets in. They never look back. They end up going 3 for 3 after starting 0 for 2. And that's what made the difference in this game. Not only won them the game, but also shows you how to put games away. You don't put games away with field goals. You put games away with touchdowns.
That's absolutely right. I mean, three points is never, in my mind, never going to be enough to win a football game. It's just not. You just leave yourself way too vulnerable. But they were great in the red zone in this game. The red zone scoring percentage overall, 100%. Every single time they got to the red zone, they put points on the board, including 3 touchdowns. Herbert, obviously, with that beautiful touchdown run, making things happen out of structure of the play, because that play was designed to go to the outside, and he just made several people miss en route to walking into the end zone. And
yeah,
then,
he
of
wasn't
course,
expecting there to be a dude who just ran straight through the line and was in his face in no time. There was no chance getting to the outside. They blew that play up, and he still got in anyways.
And it's just because he's an amazing athlete, and it's great to see Justin Herbert healthy, because Justin Herbert can do those type of things. And then, of course, you see Hassan Haskins with the LT leap into the end zone. That was great to see. Him, getting a touchdown from one of his former team, a guy that let him go. And then, of course, Quentin Johnston with his 5th touchdown of the season. I don't care how they're coming. It doesn't matter. It's time to put some respect on Quentin Johnston's name. This is his 5th touchdown of the season. Okay.
Yeah.
That's 3 more than what he had last year.
And he's missed some time,
and
too.
We have a lot of time left. So that's exactly what you need to do, especially going up against the opponents that you're about to see that can put points on the board in a flash. You got to score touchdowns if you want to keep up with these teams, because they can do it at will.
Yeah, and just, obviously for Quentin Johnston, the day as a whole, 2 catches, 24 yards doesn't seem that crazy. But it is like, hey, 5 touchdowns, right? He had 2 last season. That he has been one of their best red zone threats. Good play design by the Chargers to get him in a matchup with Kenneth Murray. Also, shout out to the offensive line on that play, because Justin Herbert had forever to the. He doesn't come open unless he gets the time that he does. On that play, Justin Herbert was standing from a clean pocket, made a beautiful layered throw over Kenneth Murray into the waiting arms of Quentin Johnston, who, again, didn't drop a wide open pass that turns into a big play, right? Like, just that in itself is an improvement over what we saw in 2023. He continues to make an impact, and to have 5 touchdowns after missing games, that's pretty impressive for that dude who, pretty much everyone wrote off. Now, is there ways to go before he's a complete receiver, wide receiver 1? Sure.
Yeah.
But still, you're getting positive play from Quentin Johnston, which didn't seem possible a year ago. But shout out to the offensive line, though, too, right? Because they made that play happen. And, David, 0 sacks allowed by this offensive line. If you would have told me that going up against Jeffrey Simmons and the company, I would have probably not believed it.
Me neither. They had a couple of pass rushers on the outside with Harold Landry and
Arden Key,
and Arden Key, who are really, really fast guys that are really slippery, that can really bend that corner. And of course, Jeffrey Simmons in the middle. We talked about him all week, about how disruptive he could possibly be, and he was on one play. Fortunately, that got overturned, but they didn't get really anywhere close to Justin Herbert, and he had a lot of time on a lot of these passing plays. And when they did get close, there were avenues and lanes for him to be able to escape and to be able to extend plays and to be able to get first downs and keep the Chargers offense on the field. So this was a much, much better pass protection game for the offensive line, but also for Justin Herbert and his, otherworldly ability to evade pressure and to be able to keep plays alive. That was a beautiful example that we saw today.
Absolutely. And credit to what they were able to do in the running game, right? That doesn't happen without a better effort from the Chargers offensive line. Shout out to Jamari Sawyer, who got in place of Trey Pipkins, who was hurt. Foster Sorrell ended up getting in there too, alternating them out a little bit. But it looked better overall. Not as many free blitzers, not as many miscommunications. It didn't seem like on stunts and things like that. Obviously, Justin Herbert only threw the ball 18 times. But yeah, the one incompletion that didn't hit somebody's hands was Justin Herbert showing just an unnatural, unbelievable feat of strength somehow, while getting sacked, while getting his arm hit, getting the ball to go forward with the ball still in his hands was insane. But David, I think it's also important just to know, hey, the Chargers offense putting things together a little bit, putting complete performances together. Third straight game of putting up 26 plus points by this team. They matched their season high with 27 today. And that is great because you have such a tough slate coming up, David. It's nice to see them starting to click a little bit and getting closer to what we know they can be eventually.
And scoring more touchdowns in the second half, too. And I think that's a big part of it for the Chargers offense, finding that consistency in that realm. Because earlier in the season, that was something that they struggled with so mightily. And it was a big part of why we felt like they hadn't gotten anywhere close to reaching their potential. But now, after these last 3 weeks, they're starting to really put it together from all 3 phases. And offense, they are complementing the run with the pass, being able to throw it down the field. And when you can run like that, man, it really opens things up, and it makes the defense have to think, how are they going to beat me? Are they going to run, or are they going to throw it?
Yeah, and they were a couple of miscues away from putting up 5 touchdowns in this game, right? If Will Dissly catches that pass, if Hayden Hurst catches that pass, obviously the rest of the game plays out different, but we're talking about 5 touchdown drives, 5 for 5 in the red zone. the plays are there. The play calling's
yeah.
good. You know, Greg Roman would have schemed up 5 touchdowns in the red zone today. You got to clean that stuff up going forward, but this is a hugely positive sign. Like, it still doesn't seem like we've seen them put it all together yet in like a 30-plus point game, but we're getting much closer to that. And to your point, after going 5 straight games without scoring a second half touchdown, the Chargers have scored one in 3 straight and have also had multiple touchdowns in 2 of the last 3. So
beautiful.
Hugely encouraging. And you know, they're going to show it to us, and we're going to find out over the next month how good this team is. But you needed to see some of this consistency going into it to feel any kind of positive way about it without just thinking they've been beating up on bad teams. They're doing what they need to do. And the Chargers defense was throwing a sack party in Los Angeles with Tuli Tuipulotu, who is suddenly scorching hot. So we have to talk about that and much more on the defensive side on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. First, I have to tell you, though, about something I'm really excited about. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and the taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with our promo code NFL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift and thoughtfully curate packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NFL and $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NFL. Minimum purchase may apply. I have to tell you guys also about FanDuel, because FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. This FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. The lines are out for the Chargers primetime matchup against the Bengals next week, and the Chargers are opening up as 1.5-point favorites. This game is going to be huge, and the Bengals are a much better team, I think, than their 4-6 record would tell you, and they're fighting to keep their playoff hopes alive in a wide-open AFC. If you guys want to get action on this crazy game coming up, just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, David, well, it's time to get into the defensive side of things. They probably deserve to get mentioned earlier, but there was a lot to get to on the offensive side. And the defense, up and down day, but I think there were a lot of positives to take away, including the sack party that they were able to throw. But thank you guys, as always, for making us your first listen, especially when it's late at night. David's traveling. I have a baby. We appreciate you guys being here with us to watch the show live, because we know we're running around. If you need a second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast, where you can get NFL coverage from Tyler the Madman Rowland, also host of Locked On Tennessee Titans. And you can get my boy Tony Wiggins in the barbershop, bringing on every local expert who cover their teams every single day on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast from. Dave, let's talk about the defense. It was a sack party in Los Angeles. They set a season-high 7 sacks. And again, kind of like last week. Last week they set their season high with 6 sacks. And there was a bunch of different guys contributing. It's the same thing against the Titans where, hey, 7 sacks. Awesome to see so many different dudes getting involved, especially with Khalil Mack basically not playing.
Yep. This one's from Daniel Popper here. The Chargers had 7 sacks in the game. They had 13. They have 13 sacks over the last 2 contests alone. That pass rush is starting to rev up. And yeah, Khalil Mack played 4 snaps in this game, felt a little grab, and unfortunately had to kind of sit for the rest of this game. But it didn't matter. Tuli Tuipulotu got his chance, and he and Bud Dupree also had an opportunity, and they made the most of it. They both had 2 sacks apiece, which is great to see. Tuli is on a bender, man. He has 5.5 sacks in his last 3 games. He's getting those opportunities, and he is really, really shining. He's always been a grown man on the edge against the run, but that pass rush is starting to come alive. I always knew that he had it in him. It's great to see it. And then the big bear, Joey Bosa, gets his 70th sack of his career and his first sack, I believe, since week 2.
Yeah,
so
since week 2.
Great to see Joey Bosa making an impact. Yeah, he played limited snaps. I think it was about 22 snaps in this contest, but it's fantastic news for him to finish the game, get through it healthy, and continue to build his strength up, his wind up, to where he can be at full strength when these really important matchups against these much better quarterbacks are on the horizon.
Absolutely. And games with huge stakes attached to them, right? You're going to need these guys. You're going to need Khalil Mack back out there too. And I thought the run game specifically and run defense was worse without Khalil Mack today, which is part of the problem. But yeah, I mean, seeing Joey Bosa get another sack, especially since he's basically only played in 3 games. He's probably played the snap equivalent of less than 3 games in this season and has 3 sacks. 2. I mean, he played more snaps in the first couple weeks, right? The first game he played full snaps, second game limited snaps. But either way, it's great to see that. But I mean, that was the best game we've seen from Bud Dupree easily, right? Against his former team. If he can start playing like that and kind of turn the corner a little bit, that is huge. Puna Ford, awesome. I was waiting to see what his sack celebration was, and I don't think he thought that far ahead. And he just kind of was standing there with the camera facing in. And I was like, what's he going to do?
Inside move, too. Man, he made that guard look bad.
Puna Ford, one of the best signings in the NFL this year for sure.
Phenomenal.
But I do want to talk about Tuli, though, man, because, the one part you didn't mention about what he's done in the last 3 games was the fact that over the first 6 games, he had 0 sacks. Yeah. Right? We were looking for a big second-year lead from Tuli Tuipulotu, but through 6 games, you're like, man, it's just not converting. It hasn't translated yet into the pass rush game because we know he's a freak on the end and is always going to be one of the top NFL edge defenders against the run.
It's true.
The pass rush is a lot different. In 3 games, he's put up 5.5 sacks and surpassed what he did his entire rookie season over a 3-game span.
I love that.
This is huge. 4 sacks over his last 2 games. That's crazy. It's crazy. He's taken a huge step. We know he's a high-effort player, and he's always going to get those, but the repertoire has definitely gotten a lot better, too. Now, it wasn't all perfect, right?
No.
The defense had a good day, but not a perfect day. They weren't as tough against the run as we've seen them, especially last week. 21 carries, 132 yards in this game, 6.3 average. Like I said, losing Khalil Mack hurts. Luckily, the Chargers got up big enough to where it didn't really matter. I also thought the other thing I would have liked to say, hey, couldn't force a turnover. This is a team that was turning the ball over basically more than anyone else in the league, over 2 times per game. Weren't able to force a turnover. So, David, still some things to clean up there. Garbage time touchdown, again, right, at the end of the game. Sucks. But, yeah, I mean, it's still another game, though, where they're playing well. But there were some things they have to clean up, too.
Yeah, I also like the early touchdown. It's just the second touchdown they've given up in the first quarter all season. I mean, which is ridiculous.
It's more about the way it happened, right? Yeah, second and 15 to have a wide open Calvin Ridley, who we talked about going into it, is obviously their best receiving option. And it's not close. That's the frustrating part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And fortunately for the Chargers, they were able to make that correction, and they were double teaming him later on, and and they were trying to it really took him out of the game effectively until the end of the game, which is when they had another garbage time touchdown that they gave up, and I know it's frustrating to see that because I'm sure it is for the players too, because they want to put that stamp on the game, put that stamp on their performance, and really dominate from beginning to end. Obviously inconsequential to the result of the game. The Chargers had the game in hand, but you still don't want to see that. And you want to say, hey, I am a dominant defense. I want to put forth complete performances. It means playing 60 minutes, not 59.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of starters out there. This is a team that went into this game with the best scoring average in the NFL, right? Yeah. And they had a chance in this one to bring that down. When you're averaging less than 13 points a game and you're bringing it down, that's obviously awesome. Now, it's going to go up because you gave up 17 points. Sure. They also missed a field goal, so you got a little bit lucky there, right? But yeah, it's a garbage time touchdown. I don't think there's too much to take away from it. But I think in this game, it was just okay, the beginning and the end, right? The beginning, you allow the 44-yard touchdown. The end, you allow a garbage time touchdown. Just stuff to clean up. I didn't think they were as sticky in coverage in this game than we've seen them in weeks past, and maybe that's because of what they were giving up on the ground. It's hard to say. But at the end of the day, David, this is another game allowing less than 20 points. Best scoring average going into this game for a team through 8 games since the 2019 Patriots. Garbage time touchdown is going to raise it. But they also did it in this game without Khalil Mack, who only played those 4 snaps, without who's their best corner, Christian Fulton, in this game as well. Yeah. And now you have real tests coming up. So it's nice to see them playing at this level and continuing to play at this level, because you're going to face 3 of the top 6 offenses in the next 5 games. Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Cincinnati. That's all coming up.
Now we're going to know if it's real.
We're going to see it tested, David, but hey, how do you hold anything against what they've been able to do so far? Any team can have a bad day. It felt like a bad day in parts of this game for the Chargers defense, and you still only allow 17 points.
Which is fantastic, man. Another game giving up less than 20 points. Oh, by the way, they haven't done it to anybody in the entire NFL. They have been great defensively. You've got to give them their flowers, give them their respect. But we'll see if they can hold it against these next couple of offenses that are really going to show how good they are or expose what they have not done.
Yeah, because they beat up on 3 bad teams over the last 3 games. It's always been hard to tell how good the Chargers team is because the only teams over 500 on their schedule are the teams they've lost to, right?
Yeah.
The Cardinals and the Chiefs and the Steelers. So we're going to know. And I think the thing is like, it's great, though, to see, hey, the defense is still playing really well. So even if they do allow, 23 points against a Ravens team, like that should be enough to win that game, especially with how bad that Ravens defense is. But like, this defense is going to keep you in it against these really good teams coming up. And they think that's all you can ask for until they actually get a chance to prove it themselves. But every single test that they've gone against this year, they have passed with flying colors. So Chargers defense is going to keep them in every game. And now the Chargers have to just show us that they're a real team and that they can beat the good teams. I don't take for granted beating the bad teams. I've covered this team for 9 years. I've followed them my entire life.
Yes.
Beating the bad teams has never been a given. They haven't lost to a bad team this year. The Cardinals are not a bad team. Steelers are a good team. The Chiefs are undefeated. They beat every bad team they've gone up against. Now, beat the good teams too, because that's the other reason you went and got Jim Harbaugh. So you could go up into these big-time matchups against great quarterbacks and great coaches on the opposing sidelines and feel like you have a chance. And I'm going into this stretch, David, thinking that the Chargers have a chance in their toughest 5-game stretch of the season. And if they can even win a couple of these next 5, their playoff ticket is basically punched. But that is going to wrap things up for today's show. Make sure you guys are back here tomorrow because it is Buy or Sell Tuesday, getting into the biggest Charger storylines and overreaction. So hit us up at Locked On LAC, where we'll put a post out, or give us a 37-second voicemail at 323-524-7924. The Chargers are 6-3. This is not a drill. I don't even have stats for this. I'm going to say the Chargers have given up 20 points or less more this season than the rest of Justin Herbert's career combined. I don't know that, but it feels like that's what the case is. There's a lot to be excited about right now. So to make sure you guys don't miss the show, go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. You can also find the show every day on our social media, on Twitter at Locked On LAC, Instagram at Locked On Chargers, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. You can also find me on Twitter at Dan Talk Sports and David at Drew Talk SD. But 6-3, taking care of business, big games on the horizon, and a lot to be excited about because this Chargers team has already passed the win total that they had in 2023 already, and the biggest games are coming up, and we have a chance to see a real legitimate playoff team in 2024 in the first year of Jim Harbaugh. So make sure you guys are back here tomorrow for Buy or Sell Tuesday, but until then, take it easy and go Bolts.